Part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question.
That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
We've pulled out the big guns for headliners. Diane Spencer and Nick Dixon. They're not cheap, but you get what you pay for. Big opinions, big stories. Tomorrow's papers with two of the finest comedians in the country. First up, the headlines with Bethany.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Bethany Elsey in the GB newsroom. Sinn Féin will be the largest party in the Northern Ireland Assembly for the first time. The party has secured 27 seats, pushing the Democratic Unionist Party into second place. Earlier this year, the DUP collapsed the power-sharing executive in protest over the Northern Ireland Protocol. And Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Brandon Lewis, has urged all political parties in the Assembly to form a government as soon as possible. Sinn Féin's Vice President Michelle O'Neill has said the results represent a new era of partnership.
Today represents a very significant moment of change. It's a defining moment for our politics and for our people. Today ushers in a new era, which I believe presents us all with an opportunity to reimagine relationships in this society on the basis of fairness, on the basis of equality, and on the basis of social justice.
The Labour leader is resisting calls to resign as Durham police investigate allegations he broke lockdown rules last year. Sir Keir Starmer is alleged to have drank beer and eaten a takeaway with colleagues at a campaigning event in April 2021. And in a Mail on Sunday exclusive, a leaked memo indicates the gathering was pre-planned. Sir Keir says he's confident no rules were broken and that all restaurants and pubs were closed at the time, so they had to order a takeaway. Ukrainian officials believe all women, children and elderly people have been evacuated from the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol. President Zelensky estimates 300 civilians have been rescued in total. It follows Ukraine's military saying Russia had continued its assault on the plant with the help of tanks and artillery fire. Russian missile strikes have also hit the southern port city of Odessa. UK intelligence has said the war is taking a heavy toll on Russian units and that sanctions mean it will take considerable time for Moscow to rebuild its forces. And the UK has confirmed £1.3 billion in military support for Ukraine as the number spent in aid for the country continues to rise. The funding is in addition to the existing one and £500 million already pledged to Ukraine, including around £400 million on humanitarian aid. The announcement comes as the Prime Minister is set to meet other G7 leaders and President Zelensky virtually tomorrow to discuss Ukraine's long-term future as a democratic country. And back here in the UK, police are appealing for information after a 6-year-old twins have been reported missing in southwest London this evening. Emmanuel and Emanuela were last seen playing in the front garden of an address in Lambeth at 6 p.m. before a relative discovered they weren't there an hour later. Their family are assisting Met Police with their search, and anyone who sees them is urged to call 999. On TV, online and DAB Plus radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Mark Dolan, and all the way from the studios at the Ministry of Defence, it is the brilliant Diane Spencer and a man who insisted on a horse-drawn carriage to transport his immense talent is Nick Dixon. Great to have you both here. Can I congratulate you on another fabulous instalment of the Ministry of Defence? It is both hilarious and offensive.
That's exactly what it says on the tin.
It's triggering in all the right ways.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's so fun. It's just nice to just let loose, because I know that we talk about the news all the time, but, you know, obviously there's some stories which you want to be a little more gentle with. There are some very serious stories. But on the Ministry, we just get to mess around. It's really lovely.
Well, that's right. A little while ago, I appeared on the show, and I know you're not able to accommodate my rider needs for a regular appearance, but thanks for the caviar and for the...
blue M&Ms, it's fine.
I was going to say something libelous. Let's now crack on, because we've got lots to get through. Let's have a look at tomorrow's front pages, and we start with the Sunday Telegraph. And they are leading with the following: Sinn Féin win reawakens Brexit tensions, historic nationalist triumph prompts new Truss warning to Brussels over border checks. Also, the most horrific headline: Russian soldiers raped Ukrainian women for entertainment. As we've said far too often on this programme and on this channel, war crimes being committed as we speak 24/7. New crisis for Starmer. Curry claim unravels. We'll get to Beergate shortly. The Sunday Express. PM promises Brexit bills bonanza. Boris Johnson has promised a Brexit bills bonanza at the heart of this week's Queen's speech, as he seeks to put the bruising local elections behind him. The Queen's speech this week will slash red tape, boost growth and make the UK thrive. Well, I'll drink to that. Alistair, where should we go next? OK, now we've got the Sunday Times. I think we've already had the Sunday Times. So good, we read it twice. OK, let's go to the Daily Star Sunday now. Who Gurs wins? SAS reveals new secret weapon. Jack Russells. Jack Russells are being unleashed by the SAS as a new weapon in their battle against terrorists. They're great at scampering off on missions behind enemy lines. Woof. And those are your front pages. Now, our top story is from the Mail on Sunday, and it doesn't look to be good news for Sir Keir Starmer, Nick.
No, indeed, not ideal. Keir Starmer's Beergate story blown apart by leaked memo. So this is a confidential operational note drawn up in the days before Sir Keir's notorious visit to Durham. Why is it always Durham? Why do they just don't go to Durham, guys? You know what I mean? It got rid of Dominic Cummings, and now it's Keir Starmer.
Was Barnard Castle in close to Durham?
Yeah, it was a whole Durham thing. Yeah. Don't go. Never get your eyes checked. Anyway, so this is and there's also there is a bomb. This is a bombshell document which caused into serious doubt Sir Keir's claim that he returned to work afterwards, because there's an entry recording that says, and there's a note to arrange takeaway from a local curry house, and then the document simply says end of visit. So this is the new scandal, the end of visit scandal, which means they didn't go back to work after, as he claims. So the claim is that Starmer has therefore not been completely truthful about what happened, and it's led to all these bizarre... This is where our politics is at. A Labour spokesperson said Keir was working, a takeaway was made available. Made available. We didn't get a takeaway, one was made available, should he wish to access it. And then a Labour source...
Glorious.
I know, it's ridiculous. And then another source said, during a fast-moving campaign, the op note doesn't always keep up with events, so it would be wrong to assume that activities occurred at the times originally planned. For example, it's been documented that the takeaway was late. So this is takeaway gate. And yes, this is where we're at, Mark. I mean, I personally never cared about Partygate, really. I cared about lockdowns. Yes, the hypocrisy was annoying, but I assumed they were all breaking it from the start. So I didn't think Boris should have resigned. I don't necessarily think this is a resigning issue, but it looks like there might be pressure for Starmer to resign, which would be more of a blow to I think it's more of a blow to the Tories to lose Boris than it is for Labour to lose Starmer. I think they'd be better off probably with Rayner anyway, personally, at this point.
Although she was, of course, at this party. The Labour Party denied her presence at the Beergate event for months.
Right.
So I don't know how she could replace an outgoing Keir Starmer, which is, in a way, a double tragedy for the Labour Party because she is a huge talent. But it could be that they both go down, Diane, in a manner of speaking. The ginger growler's going down.
I don't think that's going to be happening. It's very hard to get rid of one of those things. They're very sturdy. It's very exciting. I don't know who would actually replace the leader of the Labour Party. I watched Wes Streeting on the news this morning. That man looks like he's trying to activate laser sight with his eyes. Have you seen the way he's...
Yes, that's right. And he's also 11, which is a challenge.
That is a challenge.
He's very youthful. I mean, a lot of people are saying he's a great talent, but not yet.
Yeah,
it's a job too soon.
Definitely. I mean, once he's done his GCSEs, maybe we'll look back at him. But yeah, it is interesting that they're saying. I love the way that the Labour Party are like, oh no, well, timings can move. Great, now you look disorganised.
Yeah.
And when they say, oh, it was the end of the day, like this leaked memo, I love it because we're like finding little bits of the crime scene. Like soon there'll be like a little bit of poppadom that they find in the carpet and it'll turn into a bit of Cluedo. It'll be like, oh, it was Angela Rayner in the hall with the growler, and it'll be like that.
Mango chutney on Keir Starmer's corduroy trousers.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that'll be like little bits, piece of evidence A, B. But yeah, it's like now that they're saying this and they're saying, oh, it was a work event and it was a planned work event, a takeaway was made available. It makes them sound frivolous. And then the fact that the timing was off. I mean, all that Keir Starmer needed to do was send an email after he had the curry. So if he sent an email after he's done the curry...
Still working.
He's still technically working.
But no one has ever sent an email after eating a curry.
I have to say, thank you, that was a lovely curry.
Really? When I eat a curry...
The curry house. You send feedback immediately.
That still works.
I have never knowingly got anything done after a curry. I collapse in a heap.
What's
in a kind of carbohydrate overload heap. Sort of spices, naan bread, I'm done.
What's your favourite curry?
Well, I go for a king prawn madras.
Wow.
A little bit
that's
spicy.
Quite intense.
Yeah, and I skip the old pilau rice, go straight to the naan bread.
Oh, wow.
Cut out the middleman.
You're such a liberal, Mark. I find all spicy foods immoral. I can't eat anything with spice in it. But can I just say that people at home will be saying, why is Nick saying Rayner? Because my base will be saying, why is Rayner? The only reason I said Rayner... Now, did she actually lie? I know the party said she wasn't involved.
Correct.
And the only reason I say Rayner is because when I've seen her in PMQs, she does a much better job opposing Boris, much more charismatic.
Exactly.
And I think Starmer's never going to win. That's why... There's the only reason I said her. And it's not looking great for Starmer because Diane Abbott, of course, she was more of an ally of Corbyn, has said that if he did get a fine, he would have to resign. But then again, she's saying she doesn't actually think he will. So I don't know.
And even Jeremy Corbyn has thrown Keir Starmer under the bus as well, saying this is a very serious situation.
Well, no surprise there, really, isn't there?
Well, as soon as you think of Diane Abbott, I just get this mental image that she's there, sort of at the fire exit, trying to sneak Jeremy Corbyn back in. Do you know what I mean? Like they're two kids at the cinema or something. It's just. It's very cute that she's saying, oh, well, I don't know what his position's going to be. Calm down,
Can
Diane.
I put my cards on the table? I'm trying to cut Keir Starmer as much slack as possible because I'm pretty sure that whatever the outcome of this investigation is, that what happened at Downing Street will have been on a grander scale. I think that's clear.
So.
I mean, there are still, Sue Gray is still busy, just going through the photos of, people wearing party hats and having hula hoops and all the rest of it, right? She's not done with that investigation. But the issue for me is that Keir Starmer went big politically on Partygate, and he could have talked more about COVID or the cost of living crisis, but he decided to really politicise Partygate. And the issue you've got is if you make such a story of it, if you're then found wanting, you're going to be in trouble.
He's hung his hat on a very hypocritical nail now.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You're right. If he had, kind of gone, OK, so they did it, they shouldn't have done it, but then, like you said, if they had...
We got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, that would have been better. But you're right, because he'd done that, he put all of his cards into this... I was going to say basket.
Yeah, he put all his nans in one basket.
Lovely, thank you.
All of his poppadoms in one, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what he did? He stuffed his paratha, didn't he?
Oh wow, you really do like curry, don't you? Is that is that like a peshwari, like where it's got stuffing in the middle?
It is actually.
I'm getting quite hungry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Briefly before we move on, because it is a massive story. It's going to be the big talking point on GBNews tomorrow. I predict that because the Mail on Sunday, of course, they're no fans of Keir Starmer, but they've really gone after him on Beergate, and they unearthed the Growlergate story. They've unearthed the origins of Beergate. The story is still learning things about what happened. But here's a little bit of a brain teaser for you, Nick, because
I'm a bit tired. Go on.
Good luck with that. Get this guy a coffee. If Keir Starmer falls on his sword, this puts the Prime Minister in a difficult position.
Yeah.
Because Keir Starmer becomes a martyr who says, well, I stood down because that was the right thing to do, because I broke the rules, and the Prime Minister hasn't. So although he would be ending his political career, he would also shame the PM.
Like a sort of political suicide bomber, you're sort of saying, aren't you?
Yeah. Don't you think? Because the new incoming leader of the Labour Party will go, look, there he is, he hasn't quit. Old Keir Starmer's on the backbenches now.
And that's the point.
Nothing.
No? Do you think that would matter or not?
No, it would matter. And that's the point I was trying to make originally, that Johnson resigning is a bigger blow to the Tories. But you're exactly right. If Starmer goes off the back of this, of course it puts moral pressure on Boris to go. And the thing is, that's much worse for the Tories, because Starmer's not very good at winning elections and Boris is. But you're right, that is absolutely true.
I don't think that it would. I think that even though that would be the initial photograph, I don't think that it would affect the Tories in any way, because after Partygate, we've had 5 aides resign, we've had a Justice Minister resign, and so far nobody has resigned from the Labour Party, so they're all kind of staying put. And do you know what? With the tearful Allegra Stratton resignation, Boris is still there, and he will remain. It doesn't matter if Keir.
She's starting to look like a legend now. I mean, she needs to come back into high office, doesn't she? She wants,
bit of a moral
she deserves to be fast-tracked back in. Very briefly, Nick, you are a man of faith. You are a churchgoer, a lover of God. Do you think that the sort of pious hand-wringing aspect of Labour's approach to Partygate has been a problem too? This idea of Labour very much playing the moral argument when it came to Partygate. You know, Keir Starmer, he used almost religious language. People did the right thing by not going to funerals. They did the right thing, deeply morally wrong to have had parties. Has he overplayed his moral hand?
Yeah, well, he has. But the point is, the lockdowns were the egregious crime. The hypocrisy was the annoying insult to injury. But Starmer's done what the Labour Party inevitably had to do, which is attack the Tories on this weak point of Partygate. The only problem is, if they'd known they had Beergate hiding, they should never have done it for obvious reasons. But yeah, of course they had to attack the Tories on it politically. But then you can't have done the same thing.
Doesn't this always happen when people moralise? They always get found out because no one's perfect. Yeah. Doesn't this happen to religious figures when they start to sort of tell their flock how to behave and say, oh, actually, I've got a mistress and I've been in trouble myself, sort of thing. Yeah,
but then again, I suppose for argument's sake, if they had not gone after Boris at all, that would have also been quite suspicious and strange, wouldn't it? You'd been like, why are Labour just saying... Imagine they'd said, no, it was cool that they were partying, it was totally fine. That would have been pretty suspicious.
The genius of Boris Johnson's brand is that him being a bounder is priced in to who Boris Johnson is. Yes. You know, we know he's a naughty boy, and that's part of his identity.
It's not with Keir Starmer. He's meant to be super straight.
It's like Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger's had an affair with someone. It's like, well, tell me something I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
but
Mark Dolan.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I've got groupies outside. In fact, you guys are keeping me from those groupies. Ian and Big Jim. Please be patient, boys. Shall we get through a few more stories before the break? Because we've got so many to get through. A big seismic headline, and to coin a phrase from the day today, Sinn Féin is a legitimate political party. Chris Morris was a visionary, Nick.
I can't believe that got in. Yeah, Sinn Féin celebrates victory, but DUP warns over Northern Ireland Protocol. So now I'm going to be very objective here because I'm still slightly scared of talking about Irish politics. But essentially, Sinn Féin they've done well, they've done better than expected, but the DUP have done slightly better than feared. But the DUP said they're going to block the formation of a new power-sharing executive until the Northern Ireland Brexit protocol is changed. Yeah. So Ireland has this mandatory coalition system, which is all a bit odd. But the First Minister and the Deputy have basically the same power, but symbolically now Sinn Féin will be the biggest party. So that's the outline. But the Alliance Party has also done really well. They've actually done better. The real story is that they've actually done really well, some people say. But Sinn Féin now are going to use this to say that there should be a referendum, a border poll within the next 5 years on a united Ireland. But the DUP is sort of pushing back and saying it doesn't give them a remit to do that, because if you look at it, all the unionist parties together are still greater in number than Sinn Féin, and that's silly talk, especially to get a referendum again, especially because Alliance would be in favour of staying with the United Kingdom. So that's the rough summary of it.
Is there a timeline in which Ireland reunites as a single republic?
Well,
does it happen in your lifetime? Actually, you're not very healthy. Diane's lifetime.
I'm notoriously healthy.
Now, you're a smoker.
Never smoked. It could happen in my lifetime, but I'm going to live to 1,000. The thing is, the point is, Sinn Féin would say yes. They're saying it's within 5 years. Arlene Foster and others are saying it's absolutely ludicrous. So that's where it stands. And I'm not going to comment because I don't comment on Irish politics. I just say, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, what do we think about this, Diane? It's a huge story. There we were, focused on Scotland leaving. And then what about Northern Ireland?
Well, I mean, the thing is that Sir Geoffrey Donaldson of the DUP is saying that he may not take up the position which enables the Parliament to function, because obviously he's against the protocol which, creates that Brexit border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the Union, which obviously makes Northern Ireland feel like they are a lesser part of the Union because there's now a border. But obviously that's in place to stop the land border. So I don't know, it's tricky, but I just hope that actually Sir Geoffrey goes into the Parliament personally, because at least then things can get done, you can have a discussion, you can have a talk, you can have things still functioning. I just feel like staying away from this, it's going to prolong it, but Sir Geoffrey wants like an answer to this, to the protocol now, but it's not an easy fix.
No, and a major headache for the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, if he's not busy enough already. Great news, though. Let's lift the mood. There's a new virus in town.
Yes, and this virus...
Viruses are fine, aren't they? I mean, nothing happens when you get viruses, do you?
Oh, no, I'm not sure we're even reporting on it. OK, so this is from The Observer. So a patient has been treated for monkeypox.
Oh, we've all had that.
Yeah, monkeypox, and they are in isolation at a London hospital. Now, the good news, everybody, monkeypox is not an issue. Oh, the headline's not changed behind me, but don't worry, it will at some point. So,
well, maybe the monkeypox is in Northern Ireland, is it?
Well, the monkeypox could be. I mean, I blooming well hope not. Yes, there we go. Patient treated for monkeypox.
Jerry Adams has the monkeypox.
No, that is not a news story. We are joking. So it's very retro.
Monkeypox is a legitimate virus. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it's very retro, though, because there's, like, no variants or anything like that, and it's very hard to sort of communicate from one person to another. You don't get long monkeypox, where you just, like, want to, eat bananas and swing from vines for months. But it's not very nice. But it's kind of one of those old virus stories, where it's like, you kind of, when you first heard it, you're like, somebody been snogging a monkey? You kind of go, how did that come about?
Yeah, of course.
Or like somebody's got a pet monkey, like a capuchin or a marmoset, and they're like, oh, look at my emotional support monkey, and now it's given you a rash. Well,
in full disclosure, I do have a touch of the monkeypox myself, and let me tell you, I was nowhere near Bubbles. We're just friends. It's platonic. We both work in showbiz. What are you going to do? Sunday Telegraph next, and possibly the least surprising story of the day, Diane. At this point, I've really gone off the Taliban, I've got to say.
No way.
Yeah, man.
Taliban 2.0?
I was so down with the woke Taliban. Plant-based.
Mate, the woke Taliban, they are knocking it out the park right now, OK? They are freeing up women left, right and centre. The woke Taliban have now made it so women, get this, they are ordered to wear a full veil as the Taliban reintroduce the burqa mandate. I mean, come on, Taliban 2.0, now women don't have to make difficult decisions about what they're going to wear. They don't have to make difficult decisions about makeup. I mean, they took away education. Isn't that great? Now we don't have to worry about going to school or learning to read or having jobs. Wow, the woke Taliban are brilliant. And this has been made by the people, the Minister for Virtues and Vices. And, other vices in the Quran are ignorance, cowardice, injustice and tyranny. Can't wait to see how Taliban 2.0 are going to handle that.
Yeah, you've got to wonder, though, if Westminster had a Minister for Vices, they just would have vices, wouldn't they? They wouldn't stop any ill-gotten gains.
The Minister for Vices, I'm pretty sure we actually do have one of those. It's probably Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Haven't we got a cabinet full of them?
Yeah. I mean, they're the ones who run out with, like, the credit card and the suitcase to get all the vodka, surely.
This story is obviously terrible, and it's got echoes, and I know it's not on the same scale, but do you remember all of the promises from the Chinese government when we handed Hong Kong back to Beijing? And, you know, the Chinese said, oh, well, we'll leave everything, it'll be independent, and they'll have free speech.
And suddenly they started arresting anybody who spoke out against the government.
And it will be, this is like that, it's like Hong Kong times 100, isn't it?
I'm massively joking when I say I'm pleased in any way, shape or form.
Oh, because I was going to say I was agreeing with a lot of what you were saying there. I was like, yeah, women shouldn't have an education. Finally, she's talking sense. But you were joking.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gutted.
That is it for part one. I'm not supportive of much of what the Taliban do, but I have asked Nick Dixon to cover his face for the rest of the programme.
How dare you?
Just for your comfort, really, and for ratings. In part two, we shall be discussing the perils of jam sandwiches, elderly drivers, and a intergenerational learning protocol. Let's get a translator for that. I'll see you in two.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle, and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GBNews.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you, or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers. In the company of two incredibly beautiful people on the inside, that is, Diane Spencer and Nick Dixon.
That's the second joke about my appearance in minutes. This is going straight to HR.
It's a little bit harsh. But you've got good personalities, both of you.
Thank you.
The Sunday Mirror are running a story about an England international and a trans prostitute. Why is this newsworthy, Nick?
I know what you mean, Mark. Slow day. England footballer involved in 30k blackmail plot after bedding transgender escort. So this is an anonymous England international and Premier League footballer, so pretty big deal. And it's interesting here that he visited her on multiple occasions, so can't really have been an accident. Because, you could do it once, you could say, I don't know who that was, and then you've been multiple times. Paid her £150, apparently, in April 2021. And now she saved his text messages and photographed his car and recorded him and is demanding £30,000, which I don't approve of. And he had to therefore give in his mobile phone, but he didn't want to do that, so the case has been dropped. You can understand why he didn't really want to give up his phone.
For sure.
And I did read something on this that said he didn't realise, not that it matters to me, but he didn't realise whether they were trans or not. But then I also saw another thing saying that they were pre-op, so they were saying, well, how did he then not realise? But we don't want to speculate on that in great detail. But anyway, so yes, just a classic footballer visiting a transgender escort story, Mark.
Yeah, of course, we've been there. I mean, that's probably more interesting than the football they play, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it depends if we just knew who this person was. Some people do fantastic football and this person clearly has got his mind elsewhere. But I mean, it's interesting. They had to drop the case because the footballer did not want to be found out because the footballer felt ashamed of doing this. And I think surely we're in a bit more of a liberal society and hiring an escort is not illegal.
Correct.
And so, you know, sex work is a noble profession that some people do, and
100%.
Well, I mean, so it makes me think that
my position on it
is
my position is never say never.
Well,
That's
right?
very liberal, Mark. But Dan, the thing is, he doesn't want to be. You may say we're in a liberal society, but if you go to a football match and you're at the away team, it's not the most liberal setting. So he's worried about getting. He's worried about getting chants from the opposing fans and it getting very nasty, which it very well could. And also, would you want to give up your phone in general? I mean, I've glanced over the shoulder at Mark's phone and I can see why you wouldn't want to hand that to police. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my laptop is currently with PC World and I'm sweating more than Prince Andrew. The Daily Star, or is it the Sunday Star, are running a story about the British public missing out on their chance to treat the Sussexes and Prince Andrew like a pantomime villain, Diane.
Oh, yes. Well, Harry, Meghan and Andrew are going to be banned from the Buckingham Palace balcony for fear of booze. And when you say it like that, you think, oh, the Queen Mum always had a sherry. But not that kind of booze. Booze.
Bad booze, not good booze.
Not good booze.
I bet you guys haven't had booze for years, have you?
Oh, yeah, not since...
Top comedians.
I haven't had either kind of booze. You've had one, both probably, within days.
Oh.
I've had them booing at me and pouring beer on me at the same time.
Oh, that sounds great. Why not? Live.
I think it was
all the
beer.
extremes.
It was yellow.
So, what I love is that this little trio has now become like the General Zod, Ursa and Non. You know Superman's villains?
Yes.
Yes. That they're worried that if they appear on the balcony next to sort of the super hero that is Prince William and, you know, Superwoman Kate, and these three evil ones are going to appear, and it's all just going to go bad and wrong. I mean, I say, why not give Meghan and Harry another platform that they're going to produce no content for?
Nice.
Bravo.
Thank you.
So that's why we pay you the big bucks.
Do you know what's interesting, funny to me? I mean, one, I'm surprised they're not more worried about booze just in general, wherever they go. But I just want to say, it's interesting, someone's here saying that they've been lumped in with Prince Andrew as another person who's not allowed at the same. That must be bad when you're so annoying that you get lumped in with an alleged sex offender. Do you know what I mean? Just there's the sort of alleged sex offender one. Is it alleged? I don't know. There's an out-of-court settlement. And there's just the annoying woke ones. Let's not invite either.
But also, it might be the first time, because you'll have Prince Charles on the balcony, and if there's Prince Harry there, somebody should chant, "Let down your air." You like it?
See, it's got to be done. I think you should be master of ceremonies on the balcony. I've got Spencer there just absolutely rinsing everyone.
I would just... Can I have a horse and a lion? That's all I want.
You're getting both in my world. Next up, from the Sunday Telegraph, should have been the top story, in my view, Nick, the new frontier of our descent into authoritarianism. Jam sandwiches. We are crossing the Rubicon.
Oh, I thought you meant because of your obsession with diet and your fear of carbs. But yeah, stop giving your children jam sandwiches, parents told. So there's been research done by the University of Leeds found that 6 in 10 children are eating white bread, rolls and wraps with popular fillings, including jam and Nutella chocolate spread. And just 1 in 5 lunchboxes contained a vegetable. One too many in my book, Mark. But I used to eat, this will amuse you, Mark, I used to eat butter sandwiches. I mean, I am from the north, just for context, and this was the 80s, but it was just butter. Poor Mum. My mum had to make... It was butter, and that's just bread and butter, but you put it together and it becomes a butter sandwich.
I've had butter sandwiches.
Have you?
They are insanely delicious.
Oh, good.
But it's got to be real butter. Please don't tell me it was vegetable spread.
I hope not. Those trans fats that came in, no offence to trans people.
You're not so trans fat.
They were bad fats that we were told were good. Yes, well, I just remember very nasty meals growing up at school lunches. But I just wanted to get you some more stats here, Mark. Well, anyway, they're all eating jam and Nutella is the basic thing, and only 1% had hummus, which is the Crouch End parents, which some people in London will understand. But just alienating our... You can say St Albans if you prefer. 1% of parents put hummus in their kids' food, but most of them are just giving them jam and Nutella, is the basic point.
Yeah. But I think that, like, what they're... The thing is that a parent can't control what the child does at school. We all know this. And once you've let the child go and it's in school, it's up to the teachers. Now, the teachers can't exactly...
my kids go in with a body cam, actually, so...
Oh, I like that.
When I'm not here at GBNews, I see everything.
And a big helmet that
Correct.
says,
Correct.
Mark Dolan,
the kids stand out in the class. They look like
life jacket.
Yeah, it's creepy. They scare the other
gloves.
kids.
But
you're right. You're out of control, and
you want your child. You do want your child to eat, and also you have to remember the prison system. So the children will turn up, and they'll have a certain amount of things that they've brought in, and they'll do a couple of swaps and stuff like that.
You think they're trading Nutella sandwiches?
Yeah, because you would go in. I would always swap food with my friends at school. Yeah, because like you're just, even though you love the food that you've got, like your friend might have something else, and then it will just...
A Kit Kat, that would be like 20 Benson and Hedges, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. That I'd get it 20 Benson and Hedges, and if you had something like a double decker. Yeah. I mean, a Nutella sandwich.
That's a bag
of mobile phone.
That's a bag of illegal narcotics, probably, isn't it? Double decker.
So I can
which is a bad thing, by the way.
No. So I can I can get it, because you do want your child to eat, but what I like is that they're trying to bring in a hot meal for every child. And I think that's really great, because in the middle of school, especially when it's winter, I can't think of anything better than, it's winter, you're cold, you're at school, and you get in and you get to have a hot meal. So I really hope that comes to fruition.
Did you eat well at school because you are somebody that appears to be in optimum physical health?
Do you know what? Our school did brilliant meals, and my favourite was the jam, sponge and custard. And tell you what, on a cold day, to have jam, sponge and custard from the school canteen, it was a dream.
My school dinners were not great, and I basically lived on roast potatoes with salt, and pudding. Not great, is it? Now look at me. Get your protein down, you kids. Sunday Express now, and is there an argument to be made for limiting certain drivers' exposure to our roads, Diane?
Well, so so the Express says older drivers attack crazy maximum driving age proposals. Quote, why target the more mature? End quote. Because, my darling, if you hit somebody, you're probably going to forget that you did it. Because, darling, I've been sat behind you on the road when you're going at about 20 miles an hour and we're on the M25 and there's no traffic around. That's why, my darling. Because you sort of forget and you might drive the wrong way down onto the motorway, or the wrong way up a dual carriageway. Look, we have other things to think about. We have to accept that as we get older, things do deteriorate. Your eyesight and your hand-eye coordination skills. But however, elderly drivers are going to be very angry at what I'm saying, but I'm fingers crossed they won't know how to tweet in. And they're basically saying that this is silly. You can't ban people driving after a certain age. And they're saying you should just be allowed to take repeated tests. And do you know what? I do agree with them. I think as long as you take repeated tests, it's fine. But my dad was parked in a hospital car park literally a couple of days ago, and he said the car park was basically empty. And my dad described him as an old duffer. So if my dad's describing him as that, yeah. And he just hit my dad's car, just trying to turn around, and the car park's basically empty. So, yeah, it does happen.
Yeah, although aren't you worried about young, reckless drivers more than older, forgetful ones?
There's always going to be young, reckless drivers, and we do have a lot of speed cameras, too many in some places, in my opinion. But we do have the speed awareness courses, so we do have things to stop the young drivers. But they are saying that the way that the insurance is so big for young drivers, but do they deserve that?
Yeah. What an interesting conversation. Nick, any thoughts on
Only
the
two
drivers?
very, very brief thoughts. One is that the Express here is talking about commentators on their article, and they've written another reader using the nickname Old Woman, which I think is just the worst nickname since Mark Dolan. Like, we'll never guess.
That was my nickname at school, by the way.
Was it? What a very formal school you went to. The only other thing I want to say is old people are great drivers. My granddad drove till he was about 90, and he tailgated the entire time from age 60 till 90, inches from the car in front, which I think is probably because he couldn't see that well. But never crashed, with incredible reflexes. incredibly annoying driver to be anywhere near, but never crashed.
Lots more stories to come and no car crashes, I promise. As sure as night follows day, as summer follows spring, as chaos follows order, we have reached the end of part 2. But fear not, part 3 is where those two will bring the chaos. We've got interspecies polyamorous dolphins, Nick Dixon's favourite dating expert, and questionable parenting advice. See you shortly.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's 2 questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Mark Dolan. A first look at tomorrow's papers. And let's be honest, we've saved our best till last. It's the part of the show we've all been waiting for. Diane, Nick, there are a lot of expectations on your broad comedic shoulders. No pressure. I want you to dive right in. That's what she said. Sunday Times now. Boomer courses, Nick. What are they? They sound Australian.
No, it's boomers go on courses to understand young staff, Mark. So it's about different generations. So baby boomer and Generation X bosses are going on courses to help them understand younger employees.
OK, can you explain to me? I've never known. What is a baby boomer?
A boomer is born in the sort of 40s kind of time. It's in the post-war period.
Okay.
I think it goes up to 1964. Someone can check that. So 46 to 64.
All right.
And Generation X is 65 to 80. It's very interesting, Mark. I certainly don't want to reveal your age, but one might speculate and say that your Generation X, I'm actually technically a millennial, but I identify as Generation X, which is my right, which is for 2 reasons, really. One, that I grew up in quite a backward place, so we were a bit behind in time. And also, because I'm the older end of X, of millennial, I identify as X. But that's just me. Who cares about my story? The point is that the boomers and X's are learning to talk to millennials and young millennials because they say that they're very demanding, but it's actually just that they speak different languages, apparently. So people are saying it's things like, if you say to a boomer, end of the day, you mean 5 p.m., because they didn't work that much. You know, they had pensions and stuff, and they could buy houses. If you say to a Gen Z kid, or Z as we would say, that means 11:59 and 59 seconds. So to them, it also means they think they've got longer to do it, so they're not completing these tasks, but they are completing them just when they think the end of the day is. So stuff like this. And it's somewhat interesting because apparently the claim is that boomers would just work really hard and do everything they would to everything they could to keep their job, whereas millennials apparently will say, like, why should I even work for you? What's in it for me? But that, of course, is because if you can't buy a house and you're not going to have job security, obviously you're going to see the whole thing in a far more mercenary, transactional way, which is where we are now. So there you go. That's my analysis.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one. The mind boggles, doesn't it, about the intergenerational wars. The Mail on Sunday next, and Elon Musk has laid out his blueprint for Twitter, Nick. Your mate, Elon Musk.
Oh, Muskie. Oh, yeah, I know him, Musk. Basically, Elon Musk plans to fire 1,000 Twitter staff, quintuple revenue, get 69 users paying $3 a month, and cut reliance on advertising. So this is Musk's revolution. The $3 a month thing is there's Twitter Blue now in the United States and other places. We haven't got it yet, I think, where you can pay $3 a month. Musk has already suggested you'll be verified, and the hope is that it will rely less on advertising. Therefore, he doesn't have to kowtow to corporate interests, and he can sort of do what he wants. The other thing he wants to do is get rid of people who aren't very technical. And he wants to bring in more engineers and get rid of pointless kind of, board staff with inflated salaries. So he said he wants to bring in engineers instead. And he actually put out a tweet yesterday, I believe. He said, "I strongly believe that all managers in a technical area must be technically excellent. Managers in software must write great software, or it's like being a cavalry captain who can't ride a horse."
Yeah, I mean, he's not the king of metaphors, is he? But is he going to change this platform for good, do we think?
Well, you would like to think so. He's got lots of different sort of things he's going to bring in. The edit button. He's going to bring out timeouts, so you don't get banned permanently. You sort of get put on the Twitter naughty step, and then you can come back in. You have to prove you're human, the subscription, like Nick mentioned. But at the end of the day, you're always going to have people using this. So I think it's a case of goals versus trolls.
Oof, nicely done.
Can I just add one thing? He's talking about monetizing tweets. That is a fascinating idea, because I got 12.6 thousand likes once for a tweet about Piers Morgan. Got me blocked, but it was totes worth it. And what if that was monetized? And imagine, just for argument's sake, I got 12.6 thousand quid from that. Wouldn't that be a great system?
Yeah, it would be, I've got to say. if only. You'd be independently wealthy. You wouldn't have to come to GB News anymore.
Well, that would be the sad part, Mark.
Exactly.
I'd still come in to see you.
I like to think you'd come in anyway. Sunday Times next, and animal gene editing. How close will this get me to my lifelong dream of owning a snake with the arms of a monkey, Diane?
Oh, well, the government is going to help you out with your dream, Mark. So the gene editing of animals and plants is to get the go-ahead. The government is going to create a public register of information on precision-bred organisms. So much like we have, bastardised the mighty wolf and turned it from this magnificent, ferocious apex predator into a weird, foldy-faced dog that can't breathe properly, we're going to do the same thing with plants and other animals. Now, obviously, we're going to breed them in a good way, like breed them resistant strains of, like, tomatoes and things like that. But to aid transparency, the government are going to create this public register and will develop, so they're not in there yet, appropriate regulatory measures to protect animal welfare. So before they interbreed them, I think there's going to be a bit of candles.
Of course.
A little bit of dinner.
Some Barry White playing in the background?
I hope so, just for the sake of the animals. Make it a really nice, if we're going to breed them for their properties, then, yeah, we should give them the romantic setting to enable it to happen.
I think of myself as a precision-based organism. I'm a joke/insight machine. Built for insight, humorous insight, built in a lab.
You do it for me. I'm not going to lie. Next up in The Sun, a story about a man I'm not familiar with, but who I am reliably told by Nick that he was the Marcus Aurelius of dating.
Yeah, this is actually, it is a huge story for those of us that live on the internet. So this is Kevin Samuels has died tragically after complaining of chest pains. I think he was... Well, he's 57 or 56. I've seen different reports. He was one of those. So he had 1.4 million subscribers on YouTube, and his videos were very famous. They were kind of controversial. And he was a former salesman who became an image consultant, so-called. And what he would do, he started off, which people don't necessarily realise, helping men improve themselves and trying to make more money and look better and all these kind of things. And he would do sort of very tough love. And the men would sort of go, "Oh, yeah, thanks, bro. I do need to fix myself." But then he moved to advising women on what to do, which is where it became much more controversial, which is where he blew up and became, a massive YouTube channel with over 1 million followers. But he also got him a lot of haters, because what he would do, he would do things like women would come, and it was mainly focused on the black community in America, but not exclusively. It was sort of universal.
Was he a black man himself?
He was. And the claim was that he hated black women or he hated women. But if you actually watch it, what he's trying to do, he was trying to help the black community and help people in general, because his observation was that people had unrealistic expectations of dating. So women would come on his channel repeatedly and say that they were looking for a man with a six-figure income. And let's say they were perhaps not a model and they had a few kids, maybe they're a bit older. And he would say to them, Diane's just looking at me, he would say to them, why do you expect to get someone in that? Do you know how many people earn that? And they would say, 50%. He'd be like, no, it's 10%. Or they'd want someone with 250K or 300K. And he would say two things. One, that's unrealistic for you. And two, you don't care about men's characters. You just care about their income. That was the accusation. And, of course, this was controversial. People have responded badly. Some people are bragging that he's died. But really, if you looked into it, you could see that he was trying to help. The other thing that was controversial, quickly, is that he pointed out that from Generation X, which we were just talking about, onwards, people had lost the ability to know how to have a successful marriage, and that women, he claimed, had lost the ability to know how to become wives because they hadn't been taught by their parents. So one controversial thing he'd say is, how many recipes do you have in your recipe book? Now, this is why some people didn't like him. He was a bit arrogant and cutting, but I believe he was truthful a lot of the time, and he always tried to tell the truth, and it was very interesting and provocative, and I believe it was very significant. That's my...
Do you think we live in an era now where you get in trouble simply for telling the truth?
Yeah, absolutely. There's that quote, isn't there? What is it? In a time of whatever, telling the truth is the most something thing he can do. I've slightly mangled it, forgetting all the words.
George Orwell?
Well, it's an...
Or was it Churchill?
No one knows who it's attributed to. I saw Tulsi Gabbard say it today. It's in a time of universal deception, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. There you go. I just remembered it.
Diane, do you believe in tough love when it comes to dating?
I do, actually. I do believe in being honest with oneself. However, I also would not describe a woman over 35 who is unmarried as being a leftover woman.
Not great.
Especially because women approach their sexual peak in their 40s. Yeah. So to describe a woman who probably has... and to describe all women, regardless of career or wherever she's come from or what she likes to do, as a leftover woman, purely because she's not aligned herself to a man, I can sort of see the other side of the argument there.
And just to give the other side again, he took that from the Chinese notion, that that's a Chinese phrase, they were leftover women. And, of course, he put it in the title as a provocative clickbait piece.
Interesting stuff. Well, look, on that romantic note, let's have a look at the Sunday Times. A couple of dolphins who were clearly acolytes of the late Kevin Samuels, the first throuple in the animal kingdom, Diane.
Right. Well, this is a very strange story from the Sunday Times. So, snake charms amorous river dolphins. So, no petting in the pool, please. Essentially, dolphins, as we all know, who are the perverts of the sea, who have very high libidos, apparently. They were seen playing with an anaconda, and they're not usual bedfellows, and apparently the dolphins were immensely aroused whilst they were doing this.
I think we've got a picture. Let's take a look.
Oh, my word, I hope not. Oh, morning, everyone. OK, so there we go with a couple of dolphins, and they are swimming along with the anaconda in their mouths. And apparently they're being very playful. They're not sure if the snake drowned or not, so it's not the best story.
But, I mean, was the snake trying to kill them? How did the snake get in the water? Was it a water-based creature? I mean, what was going on?
Well, I would...
Was this a hookup? Was the snake an escort?
I'm not sure about dolphins anymore. You never saw Flipper do this, did you, Mark?
No, I mean,
Not
dolphins
really.
are very
Although Flipper
intelligent.
blew a lot of stuff through his hole, but, I think in the end it's the animal kingdom, isn't it? It
is the animal
continues
kingdom.
to baffle.
Well, I mean, I was saying this to my husband the other day. We can't understand what the cat from next door is trying to say. How are we going to understand the aliens?
Correct. Well said. And on that rather libidinous note, easy for you to say, from across the pond, they don't make congressmen like they used to. Or do they, Nick?
Oh, well, I think our producer's always trying to get me to say anti-Republican stories. So this is Naked Romps and Republican Drug Claims, the fall of America's youngest congressman, Madison Cawthorn. So this is this young man who had a very sad accident at age 18, which made him disabled. May or may not be responsible for some of his behaviour, but he's in trouble because a video came out of him messing around with his cousin, according to him, but they're both naked in bed, and it's not a great-looking video. He's, as it says here, simulating sex in bed with another man believed to be his cousin. While Cawthorn whooped and humped his friend's face, the unseen person behind the camera could be heard telling the congressman to stick it in his face. This is all in the Sunday Times.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
I've got to tell you that apparently there was a snake involved and to whiteback whales as well.
But it's not totally clear to me because he's wound up a lot of people in the Republican establishment and elsewhere in politics. So it's not totally clear to me if there's people out to get him or if he just is a bit dodgy. So I don't know.
But he also blew the whistle. I mean, it's quite an interesting story. I don't know what has gone in the water at the Sunday Times that they're feeling clearly a bit frisky this Sunday. But there we go. But he talks about orgies and he sort of blows the lid on these Republican orgies where all these politicians are sort of having sex and taking drugs. So it's a very interesting sort of salacious article to read, actually, especially from a
but hopefully
paper that I wouldn't.
I can already think of the headline: Ron DePantis.
Nice.
Ron DePantis. We'll put that through the workshop and get something for you shortly. The Mail next, and apparently parents have been coddling their teenage children enough, Diane.
Yes, well, according to the Mail on Sunday, parents risk alienating teenagers by asking them to tidy their rooms and questioning why they treat their home like a hotel. Expert warns. Gee, thanks, expert. Neuroscientist Dr. Dean Burnett said that they are alienating teenagers by saying such simple things as, "How was school today?" And apparently you're not allowed to say that anymore.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and
I agree with that, though, because I don't remember, at school, for me, it was so horrific. You'd come back, and then your parents say, "How was it?" It's like, the last thing I want to do is talk about it. It's like reliving Vietnam. Do you know what I mean? For me, because school was traumatic, maybe you had a better time.
yeah, well, I would just pick out the best part of the day and leave the crap bits out.
OK, that's why we're so different. I would sort of grunt and go to my room.
Well, you see, maybe we need to have a table for the kids. Instead of going, fine, you could say, yeah, it was all right. There were some good bits, there were some bad bits. Finn. You know, it doesn't have to be... This guy's basically telling people that they need to restructure the entire way they speak so that they don't alienate the grumpy, hormonal person who lives in their house, eats all their food and leaves mess everywhere and then expects you to do all the laundry.
I always think of that great John Bishop joke where I used to have 3 kids, now I've got 2 kids and a bloke.
That's funny. They say this, why did they say things like, you're treating the house like a hotel? Didn't work on me because I did grow up in a hotel, so...
Did you really?
Yeah, so it was useless.
Did you turn
Hotel
people's...
with butter sandwiches?
Well, yeah, you do wonder, exactly. Did you turn people's...
I just slept in the hallway.
Did you turn their beds down at night?
No, not personally.
Did you get lots of chocolates off the pillow and did you only have little shampoo bottles?
No. It's not as romantic as you think. But anyway...
Were you in charge of housekeeping? What did you do?
No,
Laundry?
I washing the dishes.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
good training. And you're very hospitable now, aren't you?
Thanks, Mark.
Your doors are always open. At least so I'm told. And on that libelous note, I hope you're all winding down, snuggling up to your loved ones, maybe it's a snake, and releasing vast amounts of melatonin. This one is about bedtime stories.
Oh, I see. Yes, this is the Gruffalo. So Gruffalo is named Britain's best-loved bedtime story by parents, followed by The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which should have been #1, and The Tiger Who Came to Tea. My personal favourite is The Enormous Crocodile by Roald Dahl, but that's a generational thing. So, yeah, but the Gruffalo, I know Mark enjoyed it. I read it to him. I had to explain a few of the words, but that's your favourite, isn't it, Mark?
You did. I'll take a bit of Gruffalo. Where the Wild Things Are is another classic.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was such a big Roald Dahl fan.
Yeah.
So for me, like the Twits. I loved the Twits.
Wouldn't
and
be
I
allowed
loved Matilda.
Matilda.
Yeah, I mean, that was fabulous. So anything by Roald Dahl. And my mum always used to do the voices as well, because my mum would read a little chapter, and so she'd always do the voices. She's fantastic like that.
Yeah. Did she have BFG qualities, your mum?
She did have BFG, big friendly giant.
Yeah. Massive hands?
No, she didn't have big hairy hands.
No. Well, we can all dream. Each to their own. Hey, it's a free country. My thanks to the brilliant Diane Spencer and the marvellous Nick Dixon. We've got more headlines for you tomorrow. Nick's back because of a clerical error at our end. And he'll be joined by the marvellous Steve N. Allen. Thank you so much for your company. It's been a really busy 3 hours. Loved having you with me throughout the evening. I'm back tomorrow at 9 and I'll be doing headliners, so I'll see you tomorrow evening.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and every weekday we bring you The Briefing live from 9:30 a.m. The stories, analysis and live debate that you need to hear.
Quite right, Tom, of course.
Was this something that had been considered at all?
Difficult to answer.
Gas-guzzling helicopters circling. Noise is being made here.
Joe Biden walking out.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get